What's going on, everybody? Wrapping up the day with our third game tonight. The Spurs taking on Portland. It's almost over. I'm hopping on this podcast before the game ends, but it's looking like the Spurs are going to close them out. I'll keep mentioning it as we go on with the podcast as I got my eye on that score as that game is playing out. We'll talk about that one last. We got to talk about the NBA tanking or / non-tanking rules that have been placed first, and then we'll recap the other two games that we saw earlier today. So first and foremost, the NBA has had a tanking problem. We've known it. We've seen it. It's been horrible. It's been atrocious. We've had teams literally not play players to purposely try to tank towards the end of the season. And honestly, the worst part is it's not even like it's the last game or two in the season. Some teams are doing this pretty much from the start of the season. Like, you knew certain teams weren't going to be trying to win before the season even tipped off. So that's discouraging to the fan base, to the league, to, just everybody. Ultimately, it just makes for bad basketball, bad product, and that's not what the NBA wants. So I'm going to read off what Shams Charania tweeted about the new rules, and then we'll try to break it down because it is a little bit confusing. So here we go. Quote, the 3-2-1 lottery proposal, named to represent the number of lottery balls per team, would expand the lottery from 14 to 16 teams. Teams that do not qualify for the playoffs or play-in tournament but stay out of the relegation zone, which is spots 4 through 10, would receive 3 lottery balls each. Teams with a bottom 3 record, the relegation zone, would have just 2 lottery balls but have a floor of the 12th pick, while the rest of the 13 lottery teams could fall as far as the 16th pick. The 9th and 10th play-in seeds for each conference receive 2 lottery balls each, while the losers of the 7-8 play-in games receive 1 lottery ball each. In addition, no team would be able to win the top pick in consecutive years or be able to win 3 consecutive top 5 picks. Teams also would not be able to protect picks in the 12 to 15 slots going forward. What the hell did I just read? My brain is so rattled, is so confused. Here's my first question, okay? It says teams that do not qualify for the playoffs or play-in tournament but stay out of the relegation zone. And then in parentheses, he says spots 4 through 10. So if we're designating spots 4 through 10 as the relegation zone, that's what that is, right? But the very next sentence, it says teams with a bottom 3 record, the relegation zone, would have just 2 lottery balls. So I'm not sure if this, I'll pop this up on the screen so everybody can see it. I just don't understand. Are there 2 relegation zones? Like, what exactly is going on here? So here's what this looks like, okay? So again, I don't get it. What are we talking about right here? So this is what I'm reading. Teams that do not qualify for the playoffs or play-in tournament but stay out of the relegation zone. Spots 4 through 10. So, all right. So I guess the relegation zone is essentially spots 1, 2, 3, right? I guess I don't get it. Like, somebody help me, okay? So they stay out of the relegation zone, which we are, I guess, calling spots 4 through 10. That's the relegation zone, is what I'm understanding. But then the next sentence says teams with a bottom 3 record, the relegation zone. So help me God, I don't understand. What I do want to talk about, though, is obviously as the days go on and other people kind of break this down and rattle their brains for my advantage, and I can understand it better, I'll talk more about it as we go on. But the one thing I did want to talk about here is people are upset. People don't like this because people are saying this is brutal because if you're a team like the Washington Wizards or a team that has been bad, you're not getting helped. Essentially, the lottery is meant to be in place, and it's put in place so that bad teams who don't have talent have an easier shot at getting talent. It's essentially their way of looking at it as evening the playing field, leveling the playing field. But I'm here to say I love it, okay? I don't understand it fully, but if this is punishing tanking teams and if this is essentially not making it as easy for bottom feeder teams to get good players, I like that, okay? Because I just feel like we already punished the good teams, right? We already put in the second apron. And essentially, that was put in place so teams would struggle to keep their good players, right? With the second apron, back in the day, the Warriors, when they had KD and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry and Draymond Green, well, they were able to get over the luxury tax and pay those guys. And if at the trade deadline they wanted to make a trade and add a fifth guy, but pay $40 million for someone else, yeah, they would be in the luxury tax and they would be expensive. But if their owner could pay it, it was fair and they could do it. And what we did then is we implemented the second apron, which now, if you're in the second apron, the rules are set so that you basically can't make any moves. So the Cleveland Cavaliers, for example, this year are a second apron team. At the deadline, they pretty much, there were so many restrictions that if they wanted to add, let's say KD, let's say the Rockets were super, annoyed with KD and they wanted to trade him to Cleveland. The Cavs couldn't take on more salary. So if they wanted to trade, some players and bundle up their salaries, but it didn't match KD's salary, even if it was within the 25 percentile that the league has in place for trades, they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. They had to offload money first. It's so complicated, which is why the Boston Celtics last offseason, a good team that drafts well, that got good free agents, had to get rid of Porzingis, right? They had to trade him. They had to get rid of Jrue Holiday. So because, the good teams essentially are getting punished. I didn't really like that with the second apron. However, I like it now because now it's even. Because now if we're going to punish the good teams and tell them like, hey, you can't pay for better players and you can't exceed the salary cap, well, then you know what? If we're going to punish those good teams, well, now we're going to punish the bad teams too. And so I think what's fair is fair, right? So I'm not one of those people that believe at the time I understood what the league was doing because it was essentially not wanting what happens in baseball to happen, which is, hey, the Dodgers can just pay everybody. And a team like, the Oakland Athletics at the time or whatever, have a payroll that's can't compete with a team like the Dodgers. So the NBA was essentially preventing that. I get it. I respect it. But now it's fair because now you are saying to the bottom feeder teams, get you a good GM. You can't just keep getting gifted good players. You're going to have to earn the good players. And that's the way I think it should be, right? So a team like, let's say Chicago, you want to tank the whole season or whatever. That's a bad example because they didn't really tank the whole season. But let's say the Wizards or the Brooklyn Nets. It's very easy to just be terrible and then get the number one pick and be able to pick the top prospect that's out there, right? Or the second top or the top three picks. The top three picks, we kind of know who they're going to be, right? Well, now you might have the eighth pick and you better have a front office that recruits, that scouts well and can make a good pick with the eighth pick because that's what it's going to be. Because someone like me who just sits at home and isn't scouting guys at college games, I could tell you right now who I think could be the number one pick, right? And so this is set in place to essentially, I think, do that. So bad GMs, you're going to have to be looking for new jobs a lot quicker than you used to because you can't just, I could have picked Zion number one in that draft, right? I could have picked Cooper Flagg number one, Wembanyama number one. Like that's just, something that when you have the first pick, second pick, it's pretty easy to do that, make that selection. But can you make the sixth pick in the draft? Can you draft well? We've been talking about this kid for a while. Can you pick Colin Murray-Boyles number 9 in the draft? And those teams are the ones who are going to be set for success because they're going to draft well and at the same time take advantage of the second apron teams that now can retain all of their good players, which again, that was set in place to punish the good teams. So, I'm not here to hear about like, oh, how's a bad team supposed to get out of purgatory if they can't get a top prospect? There's other ways, and the other ways have already been created by the league. You look at a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder who drafts well, right? And that's why they're in a position now where they've been winning But guess what? Because of the second apron, good luck being able to pay all your guys. They're not going to be able to. You want to keep SGA? Sure. You want to keep J-Dub? Sure. You want to keep Chet Holmgren? Sure. You want to keep Isaiah Joe? Well, starting to get expensive. Are you going to be a second apron team? And then you don't even want to be a repeater tax team, which is why the Celtics did what they did. So with the second apron rule, if you're in the second apron back-to-back years, that's pretty much your team. If you get an injury, you pretty much can't even trade anybody. You're stuck. So teams don't want to be there. It's punishing teams from essentially being super good with the same core for super long because these guys are going to want to get paid, right? AJ Mitchell's been coming on strong for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're not going to be able to pay him. Not if they want to keep SGA or J-Dub or Chet. So that's where a team like Washington, like Brooklyn, get your GM to be a good GM and figure out which one of the Thunder guys that they can't pay you are willing to trade for. And this will also make first-round picks less valuable for the bad teams who, frankly, don't trust their drafting skills. That's just the way it's going to go, right? And everyone now isn't going to be assured of getting a top 4 pick or something because, again, there's certain teams like if you have the worst record in the league, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 4 pick in the draft. Well, that ain't the case anymore. You might have the 12th pick. So I like that. 1, that's not going to incentivize teams to tank as much. And 2, that's going to put emphasis on teams to focus and really draft well, not just draft. Anybody could look at the mock draft and just pick the top guy, right? So it's a change for sure, but it's just something that I think will essentially, I think change the game because I think teams won't be tanking. I think, more first rounders, might be getting traded now because they're not going to be as valuable. They already were trading a lot of first round picks, but now, and you can't even protect them, right? You can't, you're not able to protect picks in the 12 to 15 slots going forward. So again, I like this long-term, and people can complain about like, oh, well, that means like the Wizards will never get a shot at getting a good player. Yeah, they can, because the second apron teams that draft well are going to have a surplus of good players. And, with the Spurs, they have the Aaron Fox under contract. Wemby's going to have to get paid. Dylan Harper's going to have to get paid. Stephon Castle's going to have to get paid. You can't pay everybody. So, if you don't want to be a second apron team, they're going to have to offload a contract or two. And that's where the bottom feeder teams figure out which one's your guy that you want to pay and build with and draft well in the teens if that's what it takes. So I like it. Like I said, it's really easy for these teams to just be gifted the number 1 pick. And that doesn't even work. When people are like, oh, teams like the Wizards are going to stay bad for forever now. Like, all right, you want to give them a top pick every year? I know it's a different sport, but look at football. Football literally goes by record, right? So every year a football team could technically tank and get the number 1 pick. Look at the Cleveland Browns. They've had top picks for like 20 years, pretty much, it seems like, right? And they still haven't been able to really do it right. And that's a system that is very much rewarding the bad, right? The bad teams get rewarded. The difference is obviously in the NFL, I just think that it is a more cutthroat league. If the GM's been bad, you're gone. Like there's free agency. Guys, sometimes 4th round picks come in and become stars. And there's more players. So obviously when you get a top pick, Myles Garrett was a home run draft pick, but he ain't changing the franchise. You still got to build around that player. And it takes too long. The rookie contracts, rookie scale deals are about the same, 4 to 5 years. But you got to fill a roster of 22 starters if you include offense and defense in the NFL. In the NBA, you have now 4 to 5 years to build around one guy pretty much on a rookie scale deal. It's a lot easier. So I like it. Ultimately, I like it. All right. Let's talk real quick about these games earlier today. Philly took on the Celtics and got the job done. Facing elimination, the Celtics, I'm surprised, did not get the job done. Really, they just went cold. They missed their last 16 field goals in the 4th quarter, and they only scored 11 points. Philly outscored them 28-11. If this is the Joel Embiid that the Sixers are going to get, well, we might have ourselves a good series here in the last two games, because if he plays like this in game 6, the Celtics just don't have that big body guy that can stop him. Joel went off for 33 points, 8 assists, only 4 rebounds, but he's kind of, as his career has, as he's gone deeper to his career, he's not much of a rebounder, I've noticed as much. And it is what it is, because if he's going to put up 33 and look like a mammoth down low against the Celtics team, well, I mean, he's going to put up points. They got a good Tyrese Maxey game, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. It's crazy that he has more rebounds than Embiid. But Embiid's just kind of slow out there. But on offense, if you can slow it down yourself and the ball's in your control, it works. So we'll see. This series suddenly got interesting because in that fourth quarter, I don't know if Philly figured something out or if the Celtics just took their foot off the gas. But game 6 is in Philly, and if Philly gets it done, then you know what we got. The best 2 words in sports, game 7 in Boston. That would be epic, and we'll see how that goes. The Celtics really kind of seemed like they had this game throughout the whole first half. They were up big. Into the third, Philly started making their run, and then it looked a little shaky. So we'll see how the series continues. Let me just say, Jason Tatum, dog. I mean, this guy's 16 rebounds. He didn't even have a great game today. 24 points, 8 for 19 shooting, but he had 16 rebounds, man. The effort like that, I just always commend, because that rebounds are an effort statistic pretty much, okay? We'll see. Jaylen Brown, 22 points on 9 for 23 shooting. He hasn't been playing great this series, and that's something to keep looking at, okay? So we'll see how that one continues. New York hosted the Atlanta Hawks, and let's just say, will the real Knicks stand up? They did, okay? Just similar, like I've said, as the Cleveland-Toronto series, this is a series where the veteran team with experience just has to pretty much show up. And game 5 right here in the 2-2 series, the Knicks guys did that. They're up 3-2. It looks like they figured it out now, okay? After game 3, it looked shaky because Atlanta got a win and went up 2-1. But game 4, the Knicks came out, got the job done like they should have done. And then this one just pretty much was a rout the whole way. The Knicks were up 13 after the first quarter, and it never really got close. So good on the Knicks. CJ McCollum was nice early in the series, but didn't get it going today. We'll see if he can get it going for game 6 back in Atlanta. And for the Knicks, Jalen Brunson, man, 39 points, 8 assists, plus 23 in the plus-minus category, and played 35 minutes. So that's great. They're conserving his energy, and they didn't need him out there at the end because they were up so big. But, it's tough with Brunson. Do I think he can be the number 1 guy on a finals team? I don't really, because I just think that he's small, and it's hard to have ever seen that. But here's the thing that I want to say. On this team, I don't even know he's definitely the number 1 guy when you think about it. But Karl Anthony Towns, this series has been a man, okay? He's been a beast. This game, he finished with just 16 points, only shot 7 times, so he went 5 for 7 from the field, 14 rebounds, 6 assists. We call Şengün baby Jokic, right? But Karl Anthony Towns, is doing a little bit of everything these days, and he's not putting up Jokic numbers, and I don't think he ever will. But, he's been dishing out the ball a little bit, racking up assists. He had a triple-double last game, and if they can play like that with Cat playing this way, then I do believe this Knicks team can make the finals. Now, can they win the finals? It depends on the matchup, obviously, but I don't think so, assuming it's the Thunder or the Spurs. But you never know. Spurs teams is a young team, but I don't see it with OKC. But, I mean, it's a long way ahead. The Knicks still got to close this series out. But the way they've played these last 2 games, you actually can see, the inner workings of a championship team here. So good for Jalen Brunson. I love Jalen Brunson. So I would love to see him succeed and keep killing it. So he had a great game. And then the last one of the night, which is over now, the Spurs got it done 114-95. They celebrate not just their first playoff appearance in years, but a series win in 5. They look like a ready-to-go team. Again, our doubts with the Spurs were, well, they're young. But this game, Victor didn't even have a crazy game. He went 17 points, 5 for 7 field goals, 14 rebounds, 3 assists. And really at the end, it got a little close, got tight. The Spurs were up about 9 there in the fourth quarter, and it was getting a little close because they were up by like 20 plus earlier in the game. But this is why they have De'Aaron Fox. The dude came in the fourth quarter, was making every big shot that they needed. Anytime the Blazers would sniff the Spurs and get a little bit closer, De'Aaron Fox got a bucket, and ultimately put them away. Big win for the Spurs. Okay, not just do you not have to go to Portland now and play a game 6. You get to rest while the Wolves and Nuggets do what they got to do for another game and possibly another 2 games. But also, you just confidence booster, right? I mean, I never thought this team was lacking confidence, but they're a young team, right? They haven't been in the playoffs with this core. Keldon Johnson's never been in the playoffs. He's the longest tenured Spur. So to have a series win, I know it's the Blazers and they weren't supposed to be in the playoffs technically, but damn, it's still the playoffs. So to win in 5 games, your first time there as a core, that's got to feel good for these guys. It's got to feel like, you know what, we definitely belong here. You know, we are legit. We are contenders, and they sure are. Okay, and they're gonna have home court, whether they play the Nuggets or whether they play the Wolves. So they got to feel good. Confidence booster. Now they get some rest. You know, the less games you can play and put Wemby at risk to miss any time, the better. So good for San Antonio. Great story with Portland again. What a great season for them. And they'll keep building. And they got their guy, Denny Avdija, showed up again. 22 points, 7 for 15 shooting. But again, they're just overmanned. It's easy to game plan and just say, let's try to contain or stop Denny Avdija and let the rest of the guys beat us. And they just don't have enough around them, right? But they're a young team. They're coming up. So I like where Portland's at moving forward. And again, great confidence booster there for the Spurs. And so we'll look ahead. Let's look at tomorrow's games really quickly. See what we got going on the schedule. 3 games tomorrow. Orlando at Detroit, who do or die time for Detroit. They're favored by 10.5. That's a nice little line for them. The Wagner boy for Orlando is injured. So he's not playing. Franz Wagner is injured for Orlando. He might not come back this series. So that could throw a wrench in there. But to win 3 in a row against a scrappy Orlando team will be a tough task for Detroit. It starts with 1 for them. They got to get their second win of the series at home tomorrow. Do or die time. You know, Jalen Duren, I'm looking at you. It's got to be you, man. Cade's doing his job. It's got to be you. You got to show up. So we'll see how that goes. Toronto at Cleveland. Again, Cleveland's favored by 8.5. I think that line is where it should be, similar to like how the Knicks are. You know, it's time for these veteran teams like Cleveland with vets and experience to step up and get the job done. They can't go down 3-2 to this Toronto team. They can still come back and win the series if that happens, but you're going to go 7 games against Toronto and want us to consider you a championship contender? Can't happen. So they got to get the job done tomorrow. And the last one is Houston at LA. LA's favored by 4.5. I like it. No KD for Houston. And I think LeBron's bringing it all because he knows this is where you got to close it out right here. Get it done. Get some rest. Don't put any more miles on your body. Give some more time for Austin Reeves to get right and get back. And just, don't play with this Houston team. That's the way I would put it, because they already didn't really have great chemistry. And honestly, if they pick up this win, what may bring them together is that they could start convincing themselves that they could win this series and make history, because no team has ever come back in the playoffs from being down 3-0 in the NBA. And so if you're Houston and you get a game 6 back home, you're going to start thinking to yourself like, man, can we make history? And that might be the only thing that can bring this Houston chemistry back up, because it looked like they hated each other after game 3. But they got it right for game 4. We'll see how it goes for game 5. So I'm excited to watch these tomorrow, and I'll talk to you guys on the next podcast. Thanks again for watching. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment. I'll comment back, and we will, do this again. Talk to you on the next one. Thanks.